The Emergent Church claims that Christianity needs to be reimagined for the 21st century. But what is meant by reimagining? What will this reinvented Christianity look like? What if the beliefs embraced by this form of Christianity have no biblical basis?
Understand the Times with Roger Oakland, a radio program dedicated to equipping the body of Christ with biblical insights for contemporary issues. As an author and lecturer, Roger travels internationally, speaking on a wide variety of topics that'll help you understand and analyze events of the past, items which are in the news today, and even those events which are yet to take place in the future. Now, to help us understand the times, here's Roger Oakland.
Emergent church leaders and promoters often provide testimonies explaining how they became involved in a journey to reinvent Christianity. In his book, Church Reimagined, The Spiritual Formation of People in Communities of Faith, Doug Pagitt tells how and why his church originated, quoting from his book. Our attempt at being a church began in January 2000 in a small second-floor loft space in a hip little neighborhood of Minneapolis called Linden Hills. The church was actually birthed much earlier from conversations between a few friends who shared a desire to be part of a community of faith that not only had a new way of functioning, but also generated a different outcome. At that point, I had said on more than one occasion that I didn't think that I would ever be able to stay Christian in any useful sense over the next 50 years if I continued the expression of Christianity I was currently living. Pretty disconcerting stuff for a pastor." End of quote. Pastor Pagitt then explains why he needed to find a new expression of Christianity that was a different expression from what he had been accustomed to previously. In his own words, "This was not a crisis of faith in the typical sense. I never doubted God, Jesus, or the Christian faith. And yet I had a deep sense, which has actually grown much deeper since, that I needed to move into a Christianity that somehow fit better with the world I lived in, not an expression that reconstituted another time." End of quote. This statement by Pagitt is interesting in light of what he wrote just a few pages later in his book in regard to how his church planned to reinvent Christianity. He stated, "We also understand ourselves as part of a global community. We are required to live our local expressions of Christianity in harmony with those around the world. The beliefs and practices of our Western church must never override or negate the equally valid and righteous expressions of faith by Christians around the world. It is essential that we recognize our own cultural version of Christianity and make ourselves open to the work of God's hand in the global community of faith." Now, notice the emphasis on a global community of Christian faith that seems to permit all expressions of faith by anyone and everyone who claims to be Christian. As we're going to see, Pagitt's idea of reinventing Christianity is based on an ecumenical view that permits ideas, beliefs, and experiences that are not found in the Bible. According to the Emergent Church agenda, in order to find a new expression of faith acceptable for the 21st century, Christianity needs to be open to anything and everything that has ever been called Christian. Brian McLaren, a prominent leader of the Emergent Church, calls this new faith a generous orthodoxy. While this generous orthodoxy is very generous in allowing a smorgasbord of ideas to be proclaimed in the name of Christ, many of these ideas are anti-Christian and anti-Christ. I would suggest you become informed to know what is going on and where this is headed. I'm Roger Oakland. This has been a biblical perspective to help understand the times.
You've heard Roger warn against the so-called Emergent Church. Now you can read his book on the topic. It's called Faith Undone, subtitled The Emerging Church, New Reformation or Last Day Deception. Faith Undone reveals the origin of the emerging church and why uninformed evangelicals are falling for it. Your church will have to make the decision whether to embrace or reject this dangerous trend. But first, read Roger Oakland's book, Faith Undone. To order your copy, visit understandthetimes.org. understandthetimes.org.